Look at your hand for a moment, because its color is not just appearance or family history. It is a survival record written by sunlight, migration, hunger, pregnancy, bones, and thousands of forgotten generations. Every shade of human skin began as an answer to one dangerous question from the ancient sun. How much light can your body survive, and how much light does your body desperately need today? That question followed our ancestors across Africa, deserts, forests, ice age valleys, and cold northern skies for millennia. And the answer changed slowly, painfully, beautifully, until humanity became the colorful species we see around us today. But the story does not begin with light skin, pale skin, or the categories people argue about now. It begins in Africa, where every early Homo sapiens population lived under some of Earth's strongest sunlight. Around 300,000 years ago, our species appeared in Africa, and those early humans had dark skin. There were no pale Europeans, no fair northern populations, and no modern racial labels waiting in history. There were only humans under a brutal sun, trying to survive long enough to raise their children. Their skin was not decoration, it was protection, and without that protection, life became dangerous very quickly. To understand why, you have to understand what skin truly does every second of your living life. Skin is not just wrapping around the body, holding bones, blood, and organs in one moving package. It is your largest organ, a living shield, constantly reading the world and defending you from it. One of its oldest enemies is ultraviolet radiation, invisible energy from the sun that can damage cells. UV light can break chemical bonds, injure DNA, and create mutations that may eventually become deadly cancer. Your body needed a defense against that invisible attack, and that defense was a pigment called melanin. Melanin absorbs and scatters UV radiation before it can reach deeper layers where vulnerable living cells reside. The more melanin skin contains, the darker it looks, and the stronger its natural sun protection becomes. That is why dark skin was powerfully favored in equatorial Africa, where sunlight was intense and constant. For early humans with little clothing, limited shelter, and no sunscreen, dark skin was not optional at all. It reduced DNA damage, lowered dangerous mutation risks, and helped people survive the blazing open landscape each day. But cancer protection was only one part of the story, and the second part is even more dramatic. UV radiation can also destroy folate, an essential B vitamin circulating quietly through the human bloodstream during life. Folate is especially critical during the earliest weeks of pregnancy, when the embryo's nervous system begins forming. Without enough folate, the neural tube may fail to close, causing severe defects or heartbreaking pregnancy loss. In other words, too much UV could damage the next generation before a mother even knew she was pregnant. Dark skin protected folate by blocking UV from reaching deeper blood vessels and breaking those molecules apart. So, under the African sun, melanin protected both present survival and future birth at the same time. It guarded DNA from damage, and it guarded unborn children from a silent threat hidden in sunlight. This is why dark skin was not just useful for early humans. It was deeply necessary for survival. Natural selection does not care about beauty standards, pride, prejudice, or what societies later decide to value. It only asks one cold question again and again. Does this trait help life continue tomorrow or not? In ancient Africa, dark skin answered yes with overwhelming force, generation after generation, for hundreds of thousands of years. Then humans began moving, and the same trait that protected them in Africa entered a very different world. Between roughly 70,000 and 100,000 years ago, some Homo sapiens groups started leaving Africa. It was not one heroic march across the planet, but slow movement across many lifetimes and landscapes. Families followed animals, rivers, coastlines, changing seasons, distant herds, and opportunities their grandparents had never seen before. Their descendants entered the Middle East, Europe, Asia, and eventually lands where winter sunlight became weak and rare. As humans moved farther from the equator, the sun's angle changed, and the UV environment changed with it. Northern sunlight passed through more atmosphere, losing much of the UVB energy human skin needed for survival. The sun was no longer an overwhelming fire to block. It became a scarce resource to capture. That created one of evolution's greatest trade-offs. Because melanin protected people, but also blocked useful sunlight. The same dark skin that saved ancestors in Africa could make vitamin D production difficult in northern climates. Vitamin D forms in skin when UVB light triggers chemical changes in a cholesterol-like compound inside cells. Your skin is almost like a living solar panel, turning sunlight into a molecule your body needs. Vitamin D helps the body absorb calcium and phosphorus, which are essential for building strong, healthy bones. Without enough vitamin D, children can develop rickets, with soft bones, bowed legs, and seriously weakened growth. In adults, deficiency can weaken bones, damage muscles, affect immunity, and make childbirth more dangerous for mothers. For ancient people with no supplements, no fortified food, and little winter sun, this was a serious problem. A dark-skinned group living far north could struggle to make enough vitamin D during long winters there. Children could become weaker, mothers could face greater risks, and entire populations could suffer over many generations. Then random mutations that slightly reduced melanin became more helpful in those low UV northern environments over generations. Lighter skin allowed more UVB to enter, helping the body produce vitamin D from weaker northern sunlight. Those individuals had slightly better odds of survival, fertility, healthy bones, and successful childbirth across many generations. Over thousands of years, natural selection slowly favored lighter pigmentation in many northern populations again and again. Not because light skin was better everywhere, but because it worked better under certain cloudy northern skies. This is the key idea most people miss. Skin color is local adaptation, not a human ranking. Dark skin is excellent protection where UV is strong, while lighter skin helps where UV is weak. Every shade makes sense only when you understand the environment that shaped the ancestors who carried it. But the story becomes more surprising when we look closely at ancient DNA from Europe itself today. For a long time, many people imagined Europe became pale as soon as humans first arrived there. The evidence now suggests something more complicated. Early European hunter-gatherers were often much darker than modern Europeans. One famous example is Cheddar Man, who lived in ancient Britain about 10,000 years ago. Ancient DNA suggests he likely had dark or medium dark skin, dark curly hair, and blue eyes together. That combination feels unusual today because modern people often connect blue eyes with very pale skin automatically. But 10,000 years ago, those traits had not yet become linked in the familiar modern way. This means very fair skin in northwestern Europe may be surprisingly recent in deep human history overall. It spread widely only within the last several thousand years, after one major lifestyle shift occurred there. That shift was farming, and it changed human bodies almost as dramatically as it changed surrounding landscapes. Hunter-gatherers often ate varied diets containing fish, organ meats, shellfish, and other vitamin D sources. Early farmers relied much more heavily on cereals like wheat, barley, oats, and rye every day. Those foods could feed villages, but they provided far less vitamin D than many wild animal foods. Suddenly, skin production of vitamin D became even more important, especially in cloudy northern regions. Farming also created larger, denser communities where successful genetic variants could spread faster than before. So agriculture may have pressed the fast-forward button on the evolution of lighter skin in parts of Europe. The change was not simple, instant, or universal, but the pressure became much stronger over time. Diet changed, sunlight remained weak, and bodies carrying lighter pigmentation gained an advantage in that environment. This is why skin color is not controlled by a single simple switch in the body. There is no one light-skin gene or one dark-skin gene deciding everything alone inside us. Pigmentation is controlled by many genes working together, shaping melanin amount, type, distribution, and response to sunlight. That is also why different populations evolved lighter skin through different genetic routes over long periods. Europeans and East Asians both became lighter than equatorial populations, but not always using the same mutations. This is called convergent evolution, when different groups reach similar solutions through different biological pathways under pressure. The environment asked the same question in different places, and evolution found more than one answer. That should make the story feel larger, not smaller, because it shows how powerful sunlight really was. The sun did not create one human skin color. It helped create a moving global spectrum instead. At the equator, more melanin-protected folate and DNA from powerful UV radiation every single day there. Farther north, less melanin helped capture weaker UVB and keep vitamin D levels high enough for survival. In between, many shades formed because human life never happened in simple black and white categories at all. People moved, mixed, adapted, ate different foods, wore different clothing, and lived under different skies together. Skin color became a biological memory of latitude, diet, migration, climate, and ancient survival pressure. And then human societies made one of their greatest mistakes. They turned adaptation into cruel hierarchy. They looked at skin, a sunlight adjustment system, and invented stories about superiority and inferiority instead. They built prejudice around a trait shaped by vitamin D, folate, UV light, and migration patterns. That is the tragic twist. Biology created variation, but human imagination created racism much later. No shade of skin is more human, more advanced, more ancient, or more worthy than another. Dark skin is not primitive. It is the original ancestral state of our entire species. Light skin is not superior. It is a later adaptation to weaker sunlight and changed diets. Every shade is evidence that human ancestors solved the survival problems placed before them somehow. Some survived blazing sun by building stronger protection. Others survived dim skies by letting more light in. The same species answered the same star in different ways, and every answer helped someone live. Today, modern life has changed many of the old rules that shaped skin evolution around us. We have sunscreen, vitamin D supplements, fortified foods, warm houses, artificial light, and global diets. These inventions reduce some ancient pressures, but they do not erase the story written in our skin. Your skin still carries an echo of where distant ancestors lived and what sunlight demanded from them. It carries memories of African plains, northern winters, farming villages, coastal diets, and migrations across continents. It is not a symbol of division. It is a record of shared human survival. Every person alive today descends from the same deep African beginning before the modern spectrum appeared. The differences came later, as families spread into new environments and bodies adjusted to new challenges. That should make skin color feel less like a boundary and more like a map. A map of how one species moved, suffered, adapted, survived, and kept walking across the earth. So look at your hand again, not as a label, but as living history. Its shade is an answer shaped by sunlight, hunger, birth, weather, and thousands of forgotten lives. It tells you that your ancestors endured the exact environment placed before them and survived. They did not choose their sunlight, their winters, their food, or the mutations that helped them survive. But generation after generation, their bodies adjusted, and those adjustments eventually became part of you. That is the quiet miracle hidden in something as ordinary and familiar as human skin. A star 93 million miles away asked humanity a question for hundreds of thousands of years. And every human shade, from the deepest brown to the palest cream, is one correct answer.